The idea of putting on a headset and being able to take a resizable 4K monitor with me wherever I want for video editing, for productivity, is exactly what I wanted and why I bought the Apple Vision Pro. And in this video, I'll be testing out how realistic that is. Is the screen sharp and responsive without delay? Is the headset heavy enough to where I'll skip using it as a monitor for editing? And also, if it's possible to edit videos without a Mac and just using the headset. That's what we'll be diving into in this video. Shout out to Epidemic Sound for sponsoring this video, which with whatever device you use to edit, you're going to need restriction-free music for your videos. Epidemic Sound gives you access to over 40,000 music tracks and over 90,000 sound effects that are safe to use anywhere online. You can use it on mobile, you can use it on your MacBook, and now you can use it on Apple Vision Pro. To do this, let's open my video editor. Siri, open LumaFusion. There we go, we got my editing timeline here where I'm editing a project, and then I can look over here, Siri, open Epidemic Sound, and boom, we've got the Epidemic Sound app right here on Apple Vision Pro. I can go and sort by popular genres, if there's a certain genre I'm looking for, or even if I want a certain mood for the music I want to use, I can find it. I'm going to go ahead and choose hip hop. That's what I usually like in the background. And then I can also look in the top right and filter this even more by the specific genre of hip hop that I want, or by the mood as well. And I'm going to go for something a little epic, seeing how I'm doing a kind of like a fighting game here. I'm going to click View 256 Tracks. I can now easily browse through these and find a song I like. Let's try Hip Hop Pro. That sounds really good. Going to click on it here, and then I can just click the three dots. I'm going to click Download. Share to LumaFusion. Saving files, file save, please open LumaFusion, and we can go over here and add the song. And then all I gotta do is grab the clip, drop it into my timeline here. I can always click on it some more and click the pencil icon to adjust the volume, but boom, I have music added to my project all inside of Apple Vision Pro. And it's also that easy on MacBook and mobile. You can start soundtracking your content with my link in the description. I've been using them for years and definitely recommend them. Now to start this off, we're gonna be looking at the Mac side of things, as in being able to connect the Vision Pro to your MacBook and editing that way, as I see that being the main way people are gonna be editing with this device. And then after that, we'll be exploring if you can actually edit with just the device itself without actually needing your MacBook. Could it actually replace your MacBook for video editing? We'll be looking into that later on. Chapters are linked down below if you want to skip to. Now to connect the headset to the computer, you literally just look at your MacBook, the connect button's there, you're gonna click connect, and then in a few seconds your MacBook will black out and you will have a version of that MacBook on screen here. So I'm able to grab this, I can resize it, I can push it out, I can bring it close, and then I can also look at the edge here and make it even bigger to where I have this massive screen in front of me for editing. And it's kind of hard to figure out where I should start with all of this, but let me just kind of walk through what I come to first here with video editing. First, let's talk about the screens, and I have this pulled up here next to this because what I think is important to note is that when I'm looking on Vision Pro here at something that's built into Vision Pro like Safari, it looks way sharper, in my opinion, than when I'm monitoring my MacBook. That is what I am visually seeing. If I was to compare it, I'd say like this looks like 4K and insanely sharp, whereas this, I want to say looks more like 1080p, would be the way to put it. Like when I'm looking at these icons down here, they are not as sharp as me looking at them on my MacBook screen. But when I look over here, and if I do the little app icon thing, like these all look super sharp. Even if I was to put myself further back, like these look really nice and clear, whereas my MacBook icons here are not as clear. My first thought was like, I can take this and I can make it a million miles huge. And I'll actually just close that tab out. It's like I got this massive movie theater screen to edit on, and that would just be so cool to kind of go through the timeline here and do. But the other problem you're going to run into is your field of view, your FOV, because with the headset, it isn't a perfect field of vision. The ads make it seem like, oh, I just see the world as I normally do, and it's totally fine. This is a VR headset. If you've ever worn a Quest and you've seen the narrow field of view on one of those, that is what this is like. I have a Quest 2 back there somewhere, and it feels like I am wearing a Quest 2 with the black edges all around. But not only that, but only down the center is the most focused. Like, I cannot see the scale is all blurry and the lines are all scraped right now. I don't know how far you can see with recording. That'll actually be interesting. But that is outside of my view. I cannot see the options on to change the scale or anything. They are all like whitewashed and weirdly blurred. I bet they're blurred for you guys as well. But I literally have to look like a spotlight, and whatever I'm spotlight at is super sharp in focus. Like, I can see this really, really well. Again, I still think this looks 1080p, not 4K, but because it is a spotlight, like, I kind of like to see my entire project. I don't usually spotlight around. So the only really applicable way I see doing this is to resize it and put it like right in front of your screen that's here, like, which is still bigger. Like, I can put it here and I can still scale it a bit. And then something like this, I can, you know, it's not as much for me to look around the timeline here and be able to edit. And I feel like this is more applicable, which if you look at my iMac screen, if we took this and put it next to it, or just because this will hold still, like, this is bigger than the 24-inch iMac right now, so I obviously have a much bigger display here. This seems like how you would edit. I'm not going to make it gigantic, and I'm not going to be tons of feet away, but I'm going to be right in front of my MacBook here, so I have my keys and everything, and it's bigger than this. So I do have technically a bigger screen. Now, as far as responsiveness of moving my mouse and clicking and doing changes, there is zero delay. I notice zero delay. Like, this is super fluid. There's just no lag or anything like that. It feels like I am actually just controlling my computer here with all my changes. So when I make splits and different things like that and make deletes, it all feels just as fast as I am using the computer. So that is really nice. Even though I can't have a massive movie theater screen to edit on, this feels like I'm just using my MacBook. Only downside is the field of view is kind of weird, where I am having to look a bit over for each of my different things. Now, another thing with video editing is I like to use multiple screens. I might be grabbing files from like Envato Elements for templates, or I'm grabbing music from Epidemic Sound to put into my project, or I'm grabbing like PNGs off of Google. So I want to have other screens set up. What's unfortunate is that when you're casting to a MacBook, as of the recording of this video, you are stuck with one screen. You can open other screens with Vision Pro, so I can look over and go, open Safari. And I can have Safari running here, and I can go to YouTube, and I can go to Epidemic Sound technically on here too, and do all those different types of things. But what you cannot do is you cannot go to Epidemic Sound on Safari on Apple Vision Pro, grab a song, and drop it onto your MacBook. They are not interconnected. So even though I'm on my MacBook here, I can do music, I can have other things running, but they are not connected in that sense. I can take my mouse and I can scroll over, at least I should be able to. As you can see, there's my little mouse dot there. Looks like an iPad kind of thing. So I can go over and control things seamlessly, but I cannot actually drag and drop into my MacBook. And this is a big bummer for me, which means now if I want to go and do all these different elements and stuff, like I can't have just like a Finder window opened for dragging files. I have to open it here, and I got to go through all my stuff here to drop it in. So really unfortunate, but if you want just like a video playing in the background, you want your music up here while you're doing everything on your MacBook, you know, you can have those screens. But now one of the next important questions is, how long can you wear this on and still be comfortable? Or is this going to get way too weighty and I'm just going to want to use my MacBook screen in the first place? And here are a few thoughts with that. Number one, if you are just using the single band, I do not think you could lawn edit on this. It's way too weighty, in my opinion. And I have a big head. When everyone was saying it was heavy on, like, you know, when Marquez was saying it was heavy and all the other people who had tried it, I was like, yeah, well, I have a gigantic head. I'm going to be totally fine wearing this. Like, I'm a man, I can handle it. But using that single strap is way too heavy. It feels like an Oculus Quest 2, but heavier in the front. And you just can't use it for long periods of time. I instantly switched to the double strap, and that is way more comfortable. There's way better weight distribution, to where when I put this on, it feels like an Oculus Quest 2, just as it is. So if you tried the Oculus Quest 2, or I'm guessing the 3 as well, or the Pro, or anything like that, like, it feels that heavy on my face. The only weird part is it actually kind of pushes on my cheeks. I don't know how the Oculus Quest 2 sits on my head. I feel like it's more on my forehead, but this is actually resting on my cheeks. So it is kind of weird in that sense. Like, my cheeks are supporting it, and, you know, I've tried to tighten it some more too, but it does feel like my cheeks are getting the weight versus my forehead. And it's also weird talking right now because of the weight on my cheekbones. But in terms of comfort, it just feels like a VR headset. Like, it feels like I have a headset on, and I have used this for extended periods of time, but it's not the weight that gets me, it's the eye strain that gets me. And as someone who's used VR on and off, like when I was using my Oculus Quest 2 regularly, if I used it for a couple of hours, yes, I would be tired, but I never used it for an extended period of time. And the only way we're really going to find this out, and I'll make a follow-up video if you want to subscribe, I'll make a follow-up video as I use this more on a regular basis. How is the long-term eye strain? Because you might have it right away when you're using a device, but there's people who use VR every single day, and as you use it more, that eye strain could disappear. Your head gets used to you always wearing a headset, so you just kind of build those muscles and used-to-ness kind of feel. But yeah, that's my thoughts currently. I've definitely been in the headset over an hour and didn't have problems with the two straps on. It was just mainly that eye strain and whether I'll actually get used to that or if it'll forever be there. Now, one thing I do want you to think about, and this is something I'm thinking about as well, is why do I need a bigger screen in front of me? And I think that's important to ask. I think there's a lot of people in the honeymoon stage, and it's like, wow, I got this big screen, and this is so cool. And, you know, I'm a Apple hype person, and I get it, but it's like, why do I need a bigger editing screen? Am I really going to spend, you know, $3,500 plus because you're also going to probably get Apple Care for it. You got the taxes on it. You might want more storage. What is the benefit of having this gigantic editing screen in front of me when I already have a nice 14-inch screen down below here that can do all of this? Like, sure, I can see my video picture bigger, but it does seem 1080p compared to the Retina or XDR on my MacBook. Like, that's the question I'm trying to answer, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments section on what you see the benefit of having that bigger screen in front of you is. Like, sure, I've got the video playback, I can always just make this screen bigger. And will whatever your answer is be worth having, you know, this feeling of a headset on your face and also having your vision, you know, your field of view shrunk and having to actually do more head movement? Is that value proposition actually going to be there where it's like, oh my word, because I have a bigger screen, I'm going to be totally fine having this weight on my head and having to look around a whole lot more to move around my editor, and then also not being able to actually have multiple monitor screens that I can control. Only this one on MacBook I can control, and this is a completely separate device next to me. And again, I'm someone who bought the device, so I'm trying to answer that question too, and hopefully over the next few weeks as I use the headset to edit videos, I'll be able to answer that question more effectively. But now let's take a look at video editing on Apple Vision Pro itself. Now, at launch, there are actually quite a few video editing apps on here. The ones I downloaded personally was InShot, LumaFusion, and And then I also think I have VN Video Editor on here as well. There is KineMaster and Power Director. I think those have lost a lot of favor or popularity, in my opinion. And if you are spending $3,500 on a device, chances are you're going to edit with LumaFusion anyway and not some of these free editors. Because LumaFusion, you might think that, oh, mobile editing on a headset, that's not going to work out well. LumaFusion would be the way to go because this is probably the most professional editor out there. You've got they have multicam editing. You can do, multiple different layers of elements and stuff and text and color grading and all that kind of stuff. Most like Premiere Pro for a mobile device. And I believe this is the iPad version of it. Now, navigation on this is all right. I can easily scroll. I can click on things. I can switch between them. Scrolling through the timeline is a little bit tricky. And then also scrolling between layers, just using my finger, doing that is a very tricky maneuver because sometimes I'm clicking a clip and then I try to drag and I actually drag the audio or the clip itself. So I have to deselect it somehow, which is usually just me looking over here and then trying, oh, I grabbed it again. Let's try that again and try and deselect. Come on. All right. And I'm going to try and scroll. Nope, grabbed it. There we go. Got it again, but my audio's way down here. So very difficult doing this with fingers. But technically, I can scroll like this. I can click on a clip. I can click the split button, just looking with my eyes. Click on the clip before it. Delete. There we go. I'm editing with my fingers and my eyeballs, and I'm not touching anything. And to be honest, I think someone could go through and actually edit a video this way. But again, if you're spending this much money, chances are you would actually invest in editing on this. And that is what I've done for this video. I went out and got a Bluetooth keyboard and a Bluetooth mouse. And certain ones are compatible. I did have the ones with my iMac available, but these would not connect. Only certain ones will connect. I couldn't get these to connect, so I went and spent $290 for this video. Please subscribe. I spent $290 on this video and more because I bought a stupid headset. But I've got the keyboard and the mouse here, and we can actually use this for our thing. So we can easily look at the timeline to scroll still. I can go to the pencil icon here and make changes and change the position, or I can change the size here and do all those different adjustments, having an actual mouse and a trackpad. And I do think this works decently. So let's just do a overlay title so we can do some typing. Adjust our text. We'll double tap and let's type something in. So we can do Apple Vision Pro. And as I'm typing, I'll actually show you. I can actually see what I'm typing here, which is pretty cool. So Apple Vision Pro test, cool. And just enter, cool. There we go. And we can drag this down here. The reposition. I don't know what I'm doing there. I can click bold. Awesome. Now we got some text on screen. I can easily drag and drop. This is much more doable, especially because I can scroll up and down through my layers here, so I can bring Mr. Audio back up to where it belongs. Cool. But one of the initial problems I did notice while editing is even though I have a mouse and a keyboard hooked up, it still wants to use my eyes to select things. You can see it start to highlight the play button there and all those other things. It's because it's paying attention to where I'm looking. Now, where the problem is if I'm looking at my preview screen and I want to scroll through and make an edit, it's not going to work because it is not recognizing where my mouse is. You see my mouse is down here. I'm going to look up here, and my mouse is still down there. I cannot scroll with my mouse down there because it is paying attention to my eyes as the cursor. I have to look down at the timeline in order to scroll through it. So I have to look and then look down, look up. Again, we're doing the head motion thing instead of just being able to stare at a screen and allow our normal field of view to control things. I have to be staring at this timeline to scroll through. Oh, I want to make an edit here. Cool. Now I can do Command B. I'm going to do Command B again here. Excellent. And then I can click on this. And then I can click on that. And I can click delete. There we go. And then I have to look. So I think that is a major pain. Hopefully that can get fixed in the future somehow. Because, yeah, I want to be able to look at my preview screen while I'm scrolling through the timeline so I know where to cut. Instead of like naturally looking up. It's just weird. It feels weird. But as long as you can get used to having to keep your eyes in a certain location, I feel like this is totally doable on the headset. It feels responsive. It obviously has an M2 chip, so anything you're going to be editing on here, you're probably going to be fine inside of LumaFusion with 4K clips and different things like that. So maybe it's just a learning curve of having to look at the timeline, look back up, make the trim and stuff. I don't know if that's something you can learn, but it's doable. You can edit on this. But I guess the question, and this is something I am learning because I'm trying to get used to touch on here. I'm trying to get used to controlling things with my eyes and pinching, is how fast will we as humans get with just look and pinch controls? Or will we forever be old people like, oh, tap, tap, tap? I feel like we'll adapt or things will get better as new versions come along. But at least right now, I feel like an old person trying to edit, or this is my first YouTube video and I don't know how to edit, and so I have to be very cautious with how I'm editing. Or maybe you could get to a point where you're really lightning fast in here and being able to edit really fast. But will it replace my MacBook editing? Absolutely not. I would rather pick up an iPad first and edit in LumaFusion on that than I would inside of Apple Vision Pro at this time. I might be more inclined to it if it wasn't for the weird mouse pad issue where I have to be also looking wherever my mouse is. And then also the field of view thing is, in my opinion, right now it feels still a little new and kind of weird, and I don't know if I fully like it. And again, same question from before. Do I really need this gigantic large screen in front of me? Or would I be good with an iPad? Would I be good with a MacBook, an iPhone? At least for this task of video editing, I feel like those are better options than trying to do it on this. If you are a content creator interested in Apple Vision Pro and some of the other things it can do related to content creation, be sure to subscribe. We talk about content creation, growth, monetization on this channel. So you'll find more Apple Vision Pro stuff related to that and just stuff related to content creation in general. So hopefully this was helpful. If I have new videos out on this, you'll find them here.